Welcome back to another reading and correcting with me, Kindar, the Tiger Writes, and Ty, the Tiger Supervisor. Whoops. These are where I read a chapter from one of my stories and correct it as I go. If you want to listen to these live, it's every Tuesday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time on Twitch, and if you're looking to support me, that is on my Patreon. Today we are doing chapter 15 of The World, which is. I drop on my bed and tell myself I expected this. Dad wasn't going to be reasonable about me wandering off and leaving him to think I'd been hurt, or worse. My arm twitches at the memory of the pain. Good thing he'll never learn what I learned I was in pretty bad shape at some point. But I wish that for once he could be an adult and not overreact. I'm back, I'm fine, and I have a decent class. Although that's another shitstorm on the horizon. The side that escapes me sounds like those I let out when I was 12 and Dad grounded me for playing rough with Max, Juicy, and Stu, and scraping my knees. Kids are supposed to scrape their knees, aren't they? None of their parents grounded them for something so minor. It's like you thought I'd get an infection and die, even if Base will hand me the best healing food or potion in his inventory at Dad's demand. I sigh again. I need to stop that. I'm an adult now. I sit up. Might as well make use of the time instead of letting myself wallow in self-pity. I pull a loose page from my bedside table and pull the journal from my inventory to use as a writing surface. The back's nice and mostly smooth. I doubt the scratches on the leather will be a problem. I pull the stylus and try it in the corner of the page. It leaves a silvery line, so it's not something that only works on the journal. Neat. Okay, system. Give me the ability that are dependent on taking it on the nose. Name only. Names only. System query. Ability list. Truncated. Grit style. Grit strike, grit style, home field advantage, marathon, fighting, second win, opponent destruction, opponent mastery. Okay, definitely seeing interesting options there. What's opponent destruction? System query. Opponent destruction, explorer ability. When your opponent mastery activates, you gain a 50% boost to damage you cause them. Each additional rank increases the bonus by 2%. Prerequisite. Opponent mastery, rank 5. Maximum rank 26. Cost known. None. What about opponent mastery? System query. Opponent mastery. Explorer ability. After fighting a single opponent for a minute, you gain 50% bonus to combat skill. Each additional rank reduces the delay before the ability activates by 3 seconds. Prerequisite. Taking it on the nose, rank 5. Maximum rank 21. Cost none. Really? I have to fight someone for a full minute? Do I want a fight to last that long? At least I only need 5 levels and taking on the nose before getting it, so I can focus on lowering the trigger time, and a 50% increase in combat skill is significant. Them, with 5 level of this, just have to sacrifice 1 boost to my damage by 50%. Right, what? Then, okay. What? Then with 5 level, just have to sacrifice 1 boost. Oh, sacrifice 1 ability point to boost my damage by 50%. Still have to be fighting one opponent for 45 seconds by that point. Not ideal against the monster wave. The goal is to end that as fast as possible. I write down the ability with the levels I expect to take them. To with class quest, I get slightly fast. I'd get there slightly faster, but I can't count on those while I hear. Even that one about cataloging creatures isn't going to help much. I think there's only 5 types of monsters in a wave can have. What's a grit strike? System query. Grit strike. Explorer ability. Once your hit points drop below 50%, you gain the ability to do a melee strike that does extra damage of an extra. Okay, I need to rephrase that. An extra 1% damage. An extra 1% damage for each percent below the threshold. Additional rank adds 2% to the threshold. Prerequisite, ticking it on the nose, rank 5. Maximum rank 26. Cost 20 stamina per strike. Another damage increase. Again, only if a criteria is met. Fortunately, it's not great unless I have a high rank in it, or let myself get close to dying. Probably not worth it unless grit style improves it a lot. What is grit style? System query. Grit style. Explorer ability. You can add one of the following to your grit strike ability. Grit absorption. 50% of the damage caused by your grit strike heals you. Cost 10%, 10 stamina per strike. Oh, 10 stamina extra per strike. Good. Okay. Grit Slugger. Grit Strike now applies a stun debuff. The duration is 1 second for each percent below your threshold. Cost 10 stamina extra per strike. Grit Payday. When you kill an opponent while Grit Strike is active, you gain a 50% bonus to your physical attribute. Duration 1 minute. Each following kill refreshes the bonus and adds 10 seconds to it. Cost extra 20 stamina on activation strike. Maximum rank 1. Prerequisite Grit Strike rank 5. Okay, this lets me pick a way to heal to get more hits in, or a physical boost when I kill a creature, but I only get one of them. Not a fan of specialization. The absorption is appealing, except it makes the strike less effective. A Slugger's nice, but once my opponent's down, I'm starting anew with a new one, which makes Payday the one I'll go with if I decide to take Grit Strike. I'll be level 10 by then, so I'll have a chance to boost my strength. I know that beside the others, but I don't bother with working out the levels. This is definitely a if I have extra point set of ability. Which means I might be much higher by the time I pick it. What's home field advantage? System? Home field advantage. It was on the list. You have to have info on it. I scroll up. Maybe I didn't read it properly. Okay. What's home field disadvantage? Home field disadvantage. Explorer ability. You deal 50% more damage against opponents who live within ruins. Each additional rank increases this damage by 2%. Prerequisite, ticking it on the nose, rank 5. Maximum rank 26. Cost none. How am I supposed to use that to defend the town? You've got to be kidding me. If ruin can be expended to meet any settlement, that'd only be useful if I turn against the town. Unless I venture out and take the creatures where they live. Not bothering with that one. How about second win in marathon fighting? Just to be sure you aren't pulling some switch on me with that too. System query. Second win. Explorer ability. You gain the spell Recuperate, and the healing branch of magic is now open to you. Each additional rank lowers the training needed to learn by 2%. Prerequisite Grit Strike, rank 5. Maximum rank 26. System query, Marathon Fighting, Explorer ability. Anytime you lose hit points, your stamina regenerates by 50% of that amount. Anytime you lose stamina, your mana regenerates by 50% of that amount. Mana cost to use the spell within the healing categories is reduced by 25%. Each additional rank adds 1%. Prerequisite second wind, rank 5. Maximum rank 51. Cost none. Now that's more like it. Now, not only do I get a healing spell at level 6, but it opens me to magic without having to pay that first cost. And with marathon fighting, if I work it right, I can rebuild my stamina as I get hurt, recharge my mana as I get exhausted, and use that to heal myself. There's going to be some loss there, but that's something I can use to defend the town, and I just need Grit Strike to get it. I'll look at where I put that ability on the page. Great. Now I'm going to have to invest 5 levels in that. Still, it is only 5 levels, so I could get healing at level 10. That's faster than any other way I can think of, since I don't get spell points as I go up in level. The downside of being human. I redo my ability plan. I already have taking it on the nose. As nice as opponent mastery and destructions are, I think the payoff is better with Grit Strike, second win, and marathon fighting. Healing magic only needs time, points, or money to be raised, and I can help others. Well, mastery and destruction only helps me directly and only in the very long run. Home field disadvantage is a non-starter. That takes care of my first 16 levels, and I have no idea how many years. Maybe I can make that when I'll start on Aaron's quest. I'll have a base of combat, and my skills and ability will have gone up enough. I should be able to deal with whatever I encounter on the road. And with traveling, maybe some of the other abilities will be worth spending points on. I should at least look into what I have access to in those. The knock startles me, and I have the page in the journal to hide it before it registers. It's not the knock of my dad on the door, but that of base. He could just start talking to me, but he doesn't like to intrude, so he knocks. Come in, I answer and send the journal and stylus to my inventory. How are you doing? He asks, and I shrug, keeping busy figuring out my class until Dad lets me out. Speaking of your class, Josie mentioned you're a farmer now. How am I supposed to handle this? You do know I see your class, right? He says, making it easy on me. I sigh. I didn't tell her that. She just assumed it. And you didn't correct her. I wanted Dad to deal with that first. I figured it would be easier to deal with him flipping out if no one was already talking about his son, the adventurer. I didn't think she'd say anything. She was trying to make him feel better. Point out that throughout all this, you ended up with not the worst class you could have. How did he take it? Told her to mind her own business and go to her parents. It wasn't over learning Richard was here, so his wording wasn't as polite as it could have been. Fuck. Did you just swear? I roll my eyes. Yes, Dad. I used a bad word. Not the first one I've used inside your walls. It's the first time you've used that one. I've been through it. I've thought it a few times these last few years, with that getting more and more unreasonable. Baze doesn't comment. He tried explaining how Dad had his reason, but when he did, he sounded a lot like Grandpa Lewis. And one grandfather explaining how my father has reasons for feeling how he feels how he does is plenty. Are you going to tell Dad? It's not my place to spill that kind of information. But if he asks directly, you're not going to lie, are you? Your father has no reason to ask what class you have. He already thinks he knows. What if Grandpa Lewis asks you? He also doesn't have a reason to ask, and before you ask about that, he also has no reason to look up the information within my system. It's entirely up to you what and when you tell him. What do you think I should do? Pull the bandit off now? What? Old expression. Tell him now. It's going to be ugly, but it's not going to get any prettier the longer you wait. Your father isn't unreasonable, I snort. Just doesn't deal well with surprises. What do you plan? What do you plan to do about your class? If that lets me, I'd use it to be a guard. I was hoping it would be better with fighting, but it's not also not horrible. Did you look over the research ability? The research abilities? I snort again. Bookworm isn't what I aim to be. It's not exclusively what an explorer is. I looked the class over, and field farmer lets you increase the quality of the creature drops. I'm not in it for the riches, base. I want to be a good guard. That's my physical attribute and combat skill. I already wrote up my build, and that's going to take me to level 16. Have you looked at at what momentum opens? Base. I took it because it was the only way out of that ruin. I'm not going off and going to go off and run up walls in the middle of a fight. And I was going to go over the other abilities when you knocked. Then look at hit and run as well as momentum strike. They might make it worth investing in that direction. I will. Is my dad on his way back? No. He and the commanders are laying into me about Richard. I straighten. What about Richard? What's his deal? Did you know what he was doing? Yeah, going to do? Did you agree to Why did you agree to let him take me? Base doesn't answer immediately. The situation with Richard is complicated. How complicated can it be? He's just a few years older than I am. He's older than he looks. Really? And he's dangerous. Well, duh. He did shove me down a hole and leave me there to die. Any chance you know why? Seeing as you know a lot more than you've said about him. Base sighs. I don't know that much about him. As for why he did what he did, could be as simple as he thought it would be funny, or someone in town looked at him funny and he wanted to strike back. Personally, I thought he just wanted to, you know, but the main thing to know about him is that he has no morals. He'll do anything he wants for whatever reason he wants, and he's strong enough to make sure that if someone tries to stop him, they'll fail. And yes, that includes me. So he just comes and goes as he pleases? No one can do anything about it? I'm not saying no one can. The pause stretches. I'm just saying that no one living in court can. And does he show up here often? I don't know. Okay, I need to change this. Told me, talked about. Yeah, this is because of a change that my co-scripter made me realize. Mistake. Well, a contradiction that I did. In when Richard saves Dennis, Dennis recognizes Richard. And here I say that he's never heard of the guy being around. So yeah, that needed to be adjusted. And does he show up here often? Other than what my friends have talked about, it's not like the adults would tell us if he had, I'm sure. If he did, I'm sure. Fortunately, no. Most of the history I have with him dates back to before we settled here. Wait, that can't be right. Wait, you know what? Wait, that can't be right. He was here like, I think back. Uh, I think back to what I heard. I don't know, not that long ago. Steven said he saw him, and that was 2 years ago, I think. He saw Richard here as little as 2 years ago? Where? There's concern in Base's voice. I don't know. Somewhere by Rose Market, by the Rose Market, I think. That's outside my walls. But you can sense what's going on in town. You had to know he was there. The town is a mass of people, Dennis. If I know to look for someone, I can locate them. There was no reason for Richard to be here then. Are you certain that's who Stephen saw? Dressed in black, angular face, green eyes, the kind of smile that can make your knees go weak. I blush. Sorry, that's from my memory. If that was him, I don't like it. Wasn't the only time. Isabel, Josie's cousin, spent time with him. When? He asked suspiciously. I don't know. Josie told me a while back, and I got the sense she just learned it from her cousin, and she didn't give him she didn't give me any detail, but her and him, well, you know. Ah, there's amusement there. What? I wouldn't believe that. He was here, she saw him. Maybe, but she didn't do anything with him. Richard isn't interested in women. Oh, he was still here, just like a few weeks ago. Possibly. If he stuck to the town and stayed out of my active sensing range, he'd be able to move about without me knowing. But the last time, before you and him, I encountered him was in the early years of settling here. That was over 20 years ago, like almost 25. Wouldn't he have been, wouldn't, wouldn't have made him, wouldn't that make him a kid back then? How much trouble would he have been? He wasn't a kid. How is that possible? I mean, is there magic that can keep someone young? Not in the catalogs I have access to. Don't you have access to all of them? How would I know if the system was holding something back? Like you, all I can do is ask questions, and if I don't know the right question to ask, it's not going to volunteer an answer. And you asked about staying young? The moment I learned Richard's age, I asked the system how someone could be young again. I tried every variation of the questions I can think of, and I haven't gotten an answer. There's clearly a way, but I have no idea what it is or how to get the system to tell me. Not that I have any idea what I could do with that information. I suspect that whatever the method is, it's not going to be something anyone sane would want to employ. You're saying Rich is. I swallow. He didn't seem insane. Dennis, I don't know what Richard is. And that's the problem. I don't even know his class. But you see, everything within your walls, unless it involves him. I pull my knee to myself, my hands trembling. The idea that Richard is something Base can't know changes how I see everything Rich did. Makes it darker. Somehow darker than him shoving me down in a hole and leaving me there to die. Why? I can't help wondering. Why me? What about me let him know that I'd be so gullible I'd follow him into a place I'd been warned against going, with someone I've been told to stay away from? That just his breath against my ear, and I'd be willing to let him do anything to me. I'm crying. Why me? What did I do to deserve that? That concludes chapter 15 of The World Witches. If you are enjoying this, please leave a like. If you want to know when the next chapter is going to be up, subscribe and hit the bell. If you want to read the whole story, it's available on Royal Road for free. If you want to read ahead, there are 5 chapters, I think, ahead on my Patreon. And if you're looking to listen to these live, it's every Tuesday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time on Twitch. The links are in the notes, and with that, I shall wish you a good day.